Artists, today we are going to be building an armature for a paper mache sculpture of an ice cream cone. And an armature is basically a base that we are going to build on. So we're going to start with a cardboard cone. And I've already torn off some pieces of tape so that I don't have to do this while I'm building. Very first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a square piece of our newspaper and we're going to actually put that right inside our cone. And we can take our tape and just go right over top of that area. This is going to help us so that way our scoops of ice cream don't fall into our cone. So we're going to start with the first scoop. And when you ball your newspaper up, you don't want to squish it so tiny that it's into a little ball that's not going to make much of a scoop. I want this to look like a scoop of ice cream. So when I am ready with that scoop, I'm going to take some of my tape. I'm actually going to tear this in half one more time to make it a smaller piece. And I'm just going to tape down the edges. I don't want to tape across the top because I don't want to lose that scoop shape. So I'm just going to give myself maybe a piece of tape here and maybe a piece of tape over here. Okay, remember that this is something that we are going to add paper mache to, so this is not going to be the final product. This is just an armature that we're going to build on. So I'm going to take one more square, and this time, this is our base. So this time I can actually make it look like I've got that scoop of ice cream kind of hanging off from the cone. So you can see that I am squishing that piece of newspaper kind of around the ball that I've made, and I'm leaving some of that newspaper kind of jagged and hanging over the cone so that it looks like I've got a scoop on there. And I can take a piece of my tape and I'm actually going to go right around that scoop shape that I made to help me make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. I think I need one more piece in there. Okay, so this is one scoop on my cone. Now if this is too big, you know, we can always fold it under or tuck it under, but we want it to look like our ice cream is scooped right over top of our cone. Most cones aren't perfectly scooped ice cream. So now I'm going to repeat that step for my second scoop. So I'm going to actually pause and get some tape ready. So I'm going to take my next piece of newspaper. I'm crumpling it into a ball. I want to attach it right on top of my first scoop. So remember that I just need a couple of pieces of tape to help secure it. So maybe one on each side. Okay, and at this point, you can decide if you want to do another square over top or if you like the way that it looks right here. I'm going to try to see what it looks like with another piece over top and decide if I like that. So this looks pretty long. It would cover my first scoop. So I'm going to try by tearing my piece of newspaper in half. That might be better. Okay. That looks more like an ice cream scoop. So you may have to resize your paper to help. So once again, I'm going to tape around to help me look like I have a second scoop on top. I'm going to pause and catch up. Okay, now I have my second scoop added, and we are just going to repeat the process again. So I'm going to ball up. I'm going to be taping that ball on top and deciding if I want to put another piece of newspaper over top of it. So I'm going to pause and catch up. For my last scoop of ice cream, I decided that I did not want to put that square over top. I just used some tape to help me secure it to make it look like the 3 scoops of ice cream. And I think I might actually take some tape right here to help me secure that other scoop of ice cream. At this point, we are done with our armature. Remember, the armature is just the base to build on. So the next time we see each other, we are actually going to be adding some plaster wraps to this to make our ice cream turn into a sculpture. So before we do that, we just want to make sure that we put our name and code somewhere on the cone, so that way your ice cream cone does not get mixed up with someone else's, because they do look very similar.